I don't know why I haven't done this sooner.
Yeah.
Hi guys, it's me Leslie with Life and Style 101, and I'm here with one of my guests is walking with me today named Leigh, and he makes documentaries, and we're just going to talk and walk today, and most of the information that comes out here we'll share it with you in the links and below. So welcome, Leigh. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Leslie. What a beautiful day it is.
It's gorgeous.
This is surprising weather for this time of year in Atlanta. It's usually a lot hotter. So
exactly.
I've got a sweater on, which I wasn't expecting to be wearing in May.
Yeah, I brought my cardigan to go with this, and oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. So thanks for joining us. I really appreciate you coming out. So tell us where you're from. The accent is the first thing people notice when they meet you, I'm sure.
That's a great question, because I was born and raised in Australia, and I lived there for the first 22 years of my life, and then I decided I want to do, like a lot of young people do, is go backpacking for a year or so. There's no real exact amount of time I wanted to go, but I just wanted to try something, and one thing led to another, and I lived in England, in London, for 6 years. Then I lived in Canada for 9 years, and now I've been in Atlanta for 12 years. So
wow.
I'm from Australia, but I regard myself more as I've got great affection and love for Australia, of course. That's where I'm from and where I was born, but I also have great affection and love for England.
Hi.
England, because I spent so many years there as well, which was great. And then I have great affection for Canada as well, because that's where I met my wife. We had our first child, my career took off, we bought a house.
Oh wow.
And then Atlanta, I've lived here for longer than those other two places, and so this is also very special, because this is where our second son was born, and where my career also continued to grow. So, and
where I met you, we met probably just walking around as strangers, and we met on the walk.
That's right.
And then our kids became friends.
Yes.
And go to school together.
That's right. Yeah. So, and that's a great thing about like how you meet people is, like our kids were friends, and that's how we got to meet each other and stuff. And now here we are. So.
Yeah. And the Beltline is a wonderful way to, I've made so many new friends out here. I meet the most interesting people, and so I think that's what inspired me to start like capturing some of these beautiful moments and beautiful days with the most interesting people. And you are the man of the hour today. So what inspired you to go into your current
So I've always
work?
been a big basketball fan, and as a kid growing up in Australia, it was really hard to get access to NBA highlights, because there was no cable TV, there was no internet back then, but I had this just, insatiable passion for the game. And so we would get magazines sent out to us, and we would get highlights on our news and things like that, but we really didn't get much coverage of the NBA. Anyway, as life moved on and I moved to Toronto, I started working in sports media. That took me into a podcast, which became a TV show at NBA TV, which is here in Atlanta. That's the reason we moved down here. And after doing that for about 11 years or so, I really wanted to get back into storytelling rather than analyzing, because analyzing the game is great, but it was just time for something new. And so what I wanted to do was sort of go back to where basketball started for me, which is on the court as a kid, start playing and start telling and sharing the experiences and stories of people from around the world. And so ultimately I'm trying to create a documentary that would be on Netflix or somewhere like that, about how basketball is a language and it's a game for everybody. I think that's the most important thing, is like, I've played with people 70 years old and they love the game. I've played with boys and girls 4 or 5 years old who, the ball's too big and they're sort of, but you can already see the spark in their eye.
Oh yeah.
And so for me, this is what unites everybody in my world, is like the game of basketball, whether you love playing or...
So, and you're here with your sons.
And with a 14-year-old, you know, they're at a very crucial stage of their development.
They are.
And so when I walk with him, sometimes we go 10 or 20 minutes without saying a word to each other, but I never force the conversation. I just allow him to reveal what's on his mind. And so he takes me into his life and his world and tells me what's happening at school and with his friends. And it's a really good way of, you know, understanding what's going on in their life.
And they'll take this with them when they grow
Yeah,
up. Like
for sure.
my 14-year-old
Yeah.
today asked me, he said, hey, after school, can we maybe take the bikes out now that we got those,
Yeah.
you know, the maintenance done on them? I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to encourage having fitness be a part of their life.
Well, and that's right. And it doesn't have to be intense fitness, does it? It just
No.
has to be movement and
fun.
and spending time with your children too,
Yeah.
because those are the sorts of things that, you know, I want to dedicate time where they get my attention, you know, uninterrupted.
Absolutely.
And I know child psychologists and things have always said, like, children will reveal stuff if they have your attention. You
They
know, and
do.
so when they're going through school, like, you know, with your boys, like, sometimes if you ask them after school, what do they say? What did you do to school today? They say, yeah.
Yeah, nothing.
And then you'll find out, like, oh, the school burned down, or,
Yeah.
you know.
You get an email, it's like, wait a second, you didn't tell me this happened.
Exactly. And so that's when they're sort of pressed and they're like, oh, I have to answer, but I don't really know. But when you remove the question and just allow them to, you know,
Just be.
exactly. That's
Be
what
present.
yeah,
And that's part of mindfulness and meditation as well.
for sure. And again, especially now, like, with a 14-year-old, they're entering a stage of life where curiosity really takes over when it comes to, you know, the opposite sex and drugs and alcohol and
Oh
things
my
like
gosh.
that. And I always feel that I want my son to ask me first, because he'll hear things at school. And I remember what it was like at that age.
Yeah.
Some of the things you hear are true and some of them are not, but I want him to feel that when he reaches a stage of, like, what does this mean? He comes to me because it's not uncomfortable or awkward. And I always say, like, whatever you're going through, I've been through, because I was a 14-year-old boy once.
So I wanted to ask you, in the business you're in,
Yeah.
have you experienced, what challenges have you experienced?
I mean, literally every day it's a challenge of trying to generate interest and investment and partnership and strategy and planning, all of it, because it's all on me now.
Right.
And being independent really opens you up to a lot of opportunities, but it's also, the setback is sometimes those opportunities are hard to land and hard
Right.
to close. And so I think the most frustrating part is when I've been, to use football parlance, like on the 3-yard line or whatever, and you can't close a deal. And you're there and everything's been sort of agreed to, or when you've had verbal agreements
Right.
and you take people at their word. And
That's how you really find out who you can trust, right?
exactly. And that's probably been the most, you know, sort of frustrating part, is when you trust people and they say something, but then they vanish,
flake.
or whatever, or they don't, or they come back and they have something completely different to what you agreed to.
Right.
And there's no real way to, you know, hold them back on their word. You know,
Right.
like it's like, if it's nothing contractually agreed and signed, then you really don't have anything. And
Which
so-
is why I have a lot of contracts with what I do.
yeah, and
so.
I try to, and I mostly do.
But sometimes it
But-
just lends itself,
Exactly.
you know.
Like when you have a verbal agreement with a person you can trust, then you just think it's fine.
Yeah.
But then when they all of a sudden just disappear, you're like, well, at least I would like an explanation or an understanding of what went wrong.
Right.
So that definitely is the part that I have found the most difficult to handle, because there are times you question yourself and you question, did I do this, did I do that? But also that's just business and life.
That's just
you know,
business and life. You're right.
Things sometimes go your way and sometimes they don't, and sometimes it's not anyone's fault. It's just like, you know what, it just didn't go through. So
Exactly.
you know, when you accept that, no matter how well you prepare or approach, things are just sometimes going to go against you, because there's been the other way where I've tried something and it's like, oh, this has happened very quickly and it came together. So,
Exactly.
You know,
Like this.
well, like this. And, I mean, one of my stories, I spoke with Steph Curry a few weeks ago when he was in Atlanta.
And you filmed him
Yeah.
a couple of times.
Yeah, and that was one of those situations where I was just there, I was ready, I was in the right place at the right time, and it came together.
Oh, wow.
So, you know,
One of my favorite players.
oh my God.
He's amazing. And I watched his dad play back in the day.
Oh, yeah, so did I.
So I got another question
Yeah.
for you. What person or thing inspired you the most to do what you do?
Well, it would be my mum and dad, because both of them were real trailblazers in what they did. My dad, at 19 years of age, moved from Australia in the 60s to London.
Oh.
Now, this is, again, before the internet. There was no Skype, there was no FaceTime, there was none of this sort of stuff.
None of it.
As a 19-year-old, he left and went to the other side of the world where he knew nobody. And that's where he met my mum.
Oh.
Yeah, and so after a few years there, they moved back to Australia, and my mum, who was so close to her mum, they basically didn't see each other very often over the next 20 years.
Oh.
But they wrote letters to each other every week.
Oh,
And,
I miss letter writing.
and it was those old blue telegrams. I don't know if you remember, where they write that and then you fold it and send it.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And so when my grandmother passed away like 20 years ago, we were cleaning out her house, and we found she kept them all.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful.
so reading through these letters, it was like, I know we've got some of them somewhere, but we didn't keep all of them. It was like going back in history. It was like going in a time machine. The things she was talking about, like myself and my brothers as kids, it was incredible.
Jeez.
And so anyway, that was one of the reasons. But my mum moved to Australia in the 70s with 2 kids, and I came along after that. She didn't know anybody in a small town, and my dad told me, like, she just decided to get out and start doing things at school and playing netball and tennis, and
She got social.
she just got involved. And sadly, my mother passed away as well. But at her funeral, so many people who I had met and not met came out and said, "Oh, your mum did this, and I met her here, and I met her," and I was like, wow. And so she was, again, a young woman in her 20s when she moved to Australia in the 70s.
And became a pillar of her society.
Oh,
just by interacting.
Yeah. You know, on mum being away from her family and her country, and she must have woken up sometimes, like, in this small town where literally, you know, the town was probably 5,000 to 10,000 people. But mum was like, right, I'm not just sitting at home feeling sorry for myself or caring only for my boys. I'm going to get out. And it's funny, I remember she used to take me, before I started school, she used to take me to watch her play tennis with her friends and netball and stuff like that. And I was running around and I was like, man, she was just like, I've got to do this stuff. Otherwise, I'll be stuck in the house.
I'll go nuts.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember when I was little, my parents played tennis. And I think it just stays with you when you're a child and you grow up. And I think seeing my parents fit and healthy, and my dad played basketball and ping pong.
Yeah.
He played ping pong for the military too.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And
like Forrest Gump.
Yeah. But that inspired me too. And so I played sports, soccer, ran cross country, track. I did all that through my life. So it sticks with you, and I think your parents are your earliest influences.
Yeah, they are. And again, when you become a parent, you realize, like, when you have those bad moments, those low moments, like, you're like, oh my God. But you also realize, well, our parents would have had those as well.
Right.
But it comes back to then how much affection and attention you give your kids, and how much you try to inspire them and motivate them and encourage them to do whatever it is that they're into. Because I'm into basketball, but my kids are not really. Like, they are a little bit, but not like I was.
You can work with my middle child because he and I both love basketball.
Yeah. But for me, it doesn't matter at all. Like, it doesn't change anything about how I parent them, because I want them to show me what they're into.
Right.
And we'll go from there, you know. So it's
I'm taking up pickleball because my kids like pickleball more. So
and that's the thing, is like, if they're into it, it makes you sort of feel like, all right, well, I'll give it a shot.
Right.
You know? Just to spend time with them.
Exactly. So we're almost done. We're gonna finish our walk without the camera in a little bit, but all right, we're back in business.
Yeah, here we go.
So, any final thoughts for the audience?
Well, just that I mentioned my mum and dad as the inspiration, and they are, but my wife is my number one inspiration because she's from Peru, and what she's had to overcome in her life to be in the position she is truly remarkable, because obviously in Peru, Spanish is the first language.
Right.
And she now is very established in her corporate role where she speaks English most of the time. And for a woman from Latin America, for the presentation she does in front of big corporate, big wigs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in a language that, again, like she's fluent, you know, in every way in English, but it's still a second language, you know, it's not her mother tongue. And
yeah,
so,
you got to think and interpret
and she's also not an intimidating woman. Like she's small and she's, you know, but...
And cute and
exactly.
sweet.
Like if you saw her, you wouldn't think that this is the same person who's, you know, gotten out of Peru and lived in Canada and lived in the United States, and a mother and a wife.
Right.
And she gets up every day and she works hard, and she, again, like she sits in there with corporate America and doesn't feel intimidated or anything like that. She goes out there and delivers. And so she is a true inspiration, because as a white guy from Australia, I mean, the truth is I've had a lot of privilege in my life just by being white, and you know, you sort of do take that for granted. And so when you see somebody with her name, you know, and her skin color, she faces obstacles that I've never faced, and she overcomes those. But she doesn't do it in a way to be like, oh, look at me, look at what I'm doing.
Exactly.
You know,
I've noticed that.
She just works hard, and her own parents also instilled a very strong work ethic in her, and her dear mother is still alive. Her father sadly is not, but you can tell that she was raised by parents who wanted to make sure that she wasn't just raised to be a wife and you know, and a mother. It was like, you know, all those things hopefully happen to you, but don't rely on a man to provide for you.
Right.
You know, so I understand fully well where I am in the pecking order. Like, I'm her husband and father, but you know, she doesn't look at me as like, well, he's going to provide for me in that regard. She's going to take care of herself. And I think for women and girls, that's really, really important. So
very much so.
So she inspires me every day, and you know, it's a real partnership, our marriage. Like, it's not, there are no dad jobs and mum jobs. It's a partnership, it's a family. And you know, I remember as when we had our first child and then our second, I really wanted to make sure I could do the things, changing diapers at whatever time of the day, and doing the things that didn't require a woman only. Obviously you can't breastfeed, things like that, but I mean,
but you can pump and put it in the bottles,
you know, and all those other things you can do, and you try to be there for your wife. I remember when she breastfed. This is funny because
do not get in trouble on here.
It's not bad.
Okay. But it's life.
The second that our sons would latch, my wife would guzzle water. Just guzzle.
Yes, you have to.
Guzzle.
I used to carry a big jug,
oh my God,
like a gallon jug,
yeah.
And because that keeps you going.
I couldn't understand how this, you know, she could just guzzle so much water the second the child latches. And so those are the things, again, as a husband and a father, I was like, right, I can do that. You know, I'll get that ready for her, so that, you know, we get the breastfeeding pillow there. She would get herself set up, and then I would take care of the things I could do that, you know.
Oh yeah.
That you try to be a attentive.
I used to love
father.
that about. There was with our first child. I will say my ex-husband was really good. He would always make me these little healthy fruit bowls.
Right.
And I will always be appreciative for those little fruit bowls when I'd wake up in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
He would always have one ready for me when I was going through like nursing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, we all learn, you know, I remember we went to the prenatal classes before our first son. you know, you had a Cabbage Patch Kid and you're changing a diaper. And it was like,
I remember those classes.
everyone's great. This is easy, you know.
Yeah.
I'm like, those prenatal classes at 5 o'clock on a Monday, complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Have a prenatal class at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday in winter, where it's dads only as well, right?
Oh my gosh. Well, you know,
Because that's
a good idea.
Well, it is, because you could, like I say,
Simulate the stress.
Simulate the frustration, simulate the like uncomfortable, the awkward, the like, oh, I don't want to get up and drive half an hour.
Put it on a stopwatch.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to go to work in a little bit. You better hurry up.
Do all those things so that when the baby is born, the dads aren't just kind of like hit with a ton of bricks. Dads and the mums, of course. Like the first one, it's just absolute mayhem. But it's like, for me, the experience of changing a diaper on a Cabbage Patch Kid is nothing.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
Have some real babies in there.
I have some real babies. I mean, I feel that, you know, you need to simulate the stress of the moment better.
So they get it.
Yeah.
Before they're actually thrusting it. That's so smart.
And you know what? It also could be like, right, you're going to have a prenatal class this week, but we're not going to tell you the day. We're just going to call you on the say, you know, one day at 2 o'clock, and you've got to be there at 2:30 in the afternoon or in the morning, you know. So all these
because they'll force you out of work. They're like, hey, we dropped all the milk out of the bottles you left us at the daycare. You need to come give us some milk.
And that's it. And those are the sorts of experiences that I think would actually have people a little bit better prepared for understanding what it's like. And then when it comes to daycare and the sicknesses and the illnesses and the viruses and the ear infections.
Oh, those are the worst.
You know, but that's what real parenting is about, is on top of that, you've got your taxes due, and you've got, you know, a friend's wedding, and you've got this.
Or a toxic boss at the same time.
Yeah.
You're both working and trying to juggle it together.
Yeah, and you're trying to buy a house maybe, and the house falls through, or, you know, like all those things. But, you know.
Balancing is important. And still trying to stay healthy, you know.
I mean, oh my God, like just trying to eat a meal.
Right.
You know.
You don't get a meal to yourself for 10 years.
Especially then when I went back to work and my wife was at home with our child.
Look at this. His little butt was just sticking out on the edge. That little squirrel.
You know, my wife, I remember like having a shower for like 30 seconds because it was like you couldn't leave the baby
too long
unattended, and if it was sleeping, what if it woke up? And
I used to drag the bassinet in the bathroom with me so I can watch him from the shower.
Yeah. And those are the sorts of things that, like, you know, it shouldn't be like that. Especially for the mother, she shouldn't feel that.
The runner wanted to get in on the video.
Who was that?
The runner wanted to get in on the video.
The mother shouldn't feel that she hasn't got time just for a shower or to rest.
Right.
And that was the other thing that I learned somewhat early on, was once she had fed our son, wasn't just my responsibility to hold him. It was like, get him out of the house so that she's got that peace in the house.
Or a nap.
For a nap, for literally whatever she wants. And there was one time I remember, I'm getting off topic a little bit, but I took him out for a walk, and I realised I didn't have any water or anything, and I was so far from home, and it was hot. It was in Toronto, and I was like, oh my God, like, you know. So I remember going into a service, like a convenience store, and just buying water because he was starting to get stressed out. But of course, he wasn't really able to drink, you know. So I'm sort of waterboarding him almost.
That's warming.
and then I'm pouring it on his head to keep it cool, and oh my God, like. You know, in the end we got there, but
that was a trial by fire, I tell you.
Yeah, that's what I say. Like, you go out with the best intentions. I'm taking away so my wife can rest. Come back and the baby's just completely lost its mind, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, this is even worse.
Well, we're about to close out today on today's episode of Lifestyle 101. I'm here with Leigh, who makes documentaries and is a friend and neighbor. And I just want to say thank you for coming out with us today. Thanks for being a great friend, great neighbor. And before we head out, are we gonna be able to show the audience some of your work? I could probably put a clip in with the video, and we will get your information. If people want to reach out to you, and put your contact information in the link at the bottom of the video. So it was great having you. Thanks guys for coming in with us. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.